Hey, I took a picture of the moon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With a Samsung,
Samsung
Galaxy S23 Ultra.
Yeah.
And it automatically AI upscaled the moon for you.
It's amazing.
And was it assisted by AI?
Probably.
Probably. Yeah, that's the big story this week. Samsung has been found out. They are not simply replacing a picture with another picture of the moon, like the Xiaomi something or other.
Xiaomi Mi or whatever.
Yeah. But AI is assisting the photographs of the moon. It can see the shape. It can see that it's blurry and put sharp details on it.
Mm-hmm. Even creating sharp details, like crater detail. Like one guy put a smiley face on the moon and it
pointed the phone at it.
Yeah, it made it like it was craters. Like, because, he took a picture of his monitor, but he photoshopped a smiley face on it.
I haven't seen that one.
Converted the smiley face into like moon craters.
Okay, so the face of the moon does change. The Samsung phone will be able to keep up with.
Yeah. So the original guy, what he did was he put a picture of the moon on his computer display, and he blurred it.
Yeah,
right?
Gaussian blur.
Mm-hmm. And he actually de-resed it and everything, then blew it up so it looked like crap. Then he took a picture, but it was still, close enough to tell. Then he took a picture of it with his Samsung phone, and all of a sudden he gets a beautiful picture of the moon. Another guy took that same picture of the moon, screwed it up, and then took another picture of the moon, like a half. He cut it in half, like a semicircle.
Yeah, because it will fill in, a crescent moon, a waxing moon, a waning moon.
Right.
Yeah.
So he took that second picture and just put it on top of it. And it was just, all you could see is a half, like a wedge of a moon, right?
Yeah.
So you had the full moon, and then you had this wedge above it. And it corrected the full moon, but left the wedge.
And I did see it. I did the version that I saw. They put two circles of the same, and it picked one of them.
Right. It fixes one, doesn't fix the other. Yeah, it's bizarre. That's goes way too far for me. Like I give Apple crap about their cameras lately. They're just doing too much, and they've gotten slower.
Yeah. Right.
And I've actually confirmed that recently with my recent experience.
We'll talk about what you've been up to in a little bit.
Yeah. But that's just too much. I actually appreciate that when I take a shitty picture of the moon with my iPhone, it's a shitty picture of the moon.
Because you're hand shaking and you're
and then you can justify it like, I sort of get, I have a better vision of that memory, but that that to me is not, that doesn't correlate. I could see that argument. Yeah. Like it corresponds more with what you saw.
Sure.
Although I'm not sure that that's necessarily true all the time.
Your eyes don't always necessarily resolve.
Yeah, and also our eyes lie to us. So, for example, if you see a crescent moon, our eyes will fill in a circle. Yeah. And it looks like it's there, but it's not. I promise you, it is not there.
But your brain can finish the circle.
Yeah, it happens. And just the same thing with faces and stuff like that. And if you look at the circle that your brain finishes, it actually finishes the interior of the circle, not the exterior. So like the crescent part, it finishes the inside of it, not the outside. So it actually is smaller than the full crescent. So just, it's like your brain is Samsung, picking and choosing which detail to fill in. And
so it is actually pretty true to life.
Yeah, it's bullshit, basically. Like witness testimony is like the worst.
Oh, so,
yeah. But kudos to Samsung for lying to everybody and then making fun of them in commercials and,
Yeah. This show is not sponsored by Samsung, but it is made possible by the Community Media Access Collaborative, CMAC, the Community Center for Central California. Learn more at cmac.tv.
cmac.tv.
If you are interested in making a podcast like this, or your videos, or show, or anything media related, you can sign up for a membership at cmac.tv.
I just renewed my membership, and I have a quibble in that it's $50 for a year. Yeah. Like this isn't a plug. It's crazy to me that it's $50 a year. Like it seems way too cheap. No. I mean, like this setup alone, it is included. Training is included.
Yes.
All the crazy equipment's included.
The only thing you need is to be able to manage your own data.
Yeah. So you need like an SSD or something.
And some SD cards maybe, but.
Yeah. Mark could tell you everything you could possibly ever want to know about portable SSDs.
And my favorite portable SSD is under fire. the SanDisk Extreme SSDs, the 4 terabyte model,
Right.
which I only have 1 terabyte models.
Ew.
That's all I can afford, my man.
Dude, I got a Crucial X8 because they a 4 terabyte. So that's also made by the same company.
Right.
Right. Crucial, SanDisk, they're all owned by Western Digital.
Yeah.
And I stress tested it because Mark said that in Wirecutter the reviews were that they were getting super hot.
Mm-hmm.
I stress tested this thing
running
for
the Blackmagic disk test.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was a little bit less, like 20 hours straight overnight.
Yeah.
And it was about 10 degrees cooler than my Extreme Pro 4 terabyte
cool.
and my brand new Samsung T7S, the Shield.
Oh, so it was the
4
coolest temperature.
It was the coolest of the 3.
Yeah.
So like once again, Wirecutter.
Oh yeah, wire. Like
man, Brian Lamb is surfing in Hawaii with his millions. He's he's the founder, one of the founders.
Yeah, get your bag and all, but
he got his bag and sold it to the New York
people.
Times, and they used to be such a great resource, but they've just because it really is all about the click, right? So they're
the
highly
headline,
incentivized.
the click, and then the ads.
So I don't know. Maybe SanDisk doesn't, or Western Digital doesn't pay as high per affiliate link.
Maybe not. But yes, if you have a SanDisk Extreme SSD 4 terabyte, go get a warranty claim because it's probably going to fail.
They had a bad batch, right? It was a small batch.
Yeah. So like if you have one that's over a year old, you're probably fine. But if you purchased one the last 6 months, year, recently.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Mark, friend of the show, Mark. He comes up all the time. He should, because he's like one of those people that should.
Yeah.
One of the great
We'll
curators of our time. He's been looking for a 4 terabyte SSD for the past, 20 years. So he is very knowledgeable about these. But yeah, I have 3 different ones now.
Yeah.
So I've got the Extreme Pro, and you're saying the non-Extreme doesn't matter, or is the one that matters? The non-Pro, rather.
The new, whatever the new one that's like the 2 gigabit.
Oh, so mine, the Pros. I have the fast one.
Yeah, the fast ones.
So but not the slow ones.
I think it's both. I don't know.
Really? Okay.
I recently saw someone tweeting about theirs, and it was a non-Pro one that died, and I've seen the Pro ones.
Okay. I haven't had any problems with mine, but I'm going to do.
And you've also had yours for a little while.
Yeah, I don't know how long I've had it, but I'm sure there's some kind of tool I can use to check.
Probably.
The serial number or whatever. But okay.
I don't have one, so I didn't look that far into it.
Anyway. Bring a hard drive. But yeah, CMAC is way too cheap. Way too cheap.
The point of it is to be accessible.
Yeah, it's extremely accessible. The facilities are beautiful. The staff here is amazing. I just renewed my membership. I
can't wait to see what cool, weird thing you make.
Yeah, I do make a lot of weird shit, don't I?
Yeah, let's put
Which is why I have this lens. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so today we're going to kind of follow up the last chat we had, which was about audio, specifically speakers and HomePods. We didn't get to do the tests that we planned to do, but Farouk, iPhonedo, basically did the test that we were going to try to do, but we had trouble with the Wi-Fi here at CMAC.
Among other things.
So we'll link to his video down in the doobly-doo.
Yeah.
And you can check that out.
Also, what's his name? 2D Dave 2D. Yeah, he actually confirmed, because he actually measured the frequency responses on the HomePods, and he confirmed exactly what Kyle and I had noticed, which is basically a larger scoop in the old one, basically following the Harman curve, if you're familiar with that, on the new one. I don't typically listen to stuff in a Harman curve. Google it. In research, he found it to be very pleasing for most people, because I tend to listen to more scooped out stuff because I listen to rock a lot of time.
It's already got a mid scoop.
It's already got a scoop, so I'm fixing that typically. So my EQ sometimes mirrors a Harman curve, sometimes is a V shape, sometimes is a hill. It really depends on what I'm listening to, and I do change it. So.
But a HomePod, you can't.
A HomePod, well, there's some accessibility stuff you can do to hack it, but no, you can't effectively.
And ultimately, you got to spend more time with the second generation HomePod than I did.
Yeah.
Your final analysis, you have returned it.
I've returned it. I cannot recommend that product to anyone.
And then just from the original HomePod to the second generation HomePod, you felt it was a better sounding device.
I do feel like it was a better sounding device. I don't feel like it was a better performing device. And in fact, a lot of people confirm that as well. Like the faster chip in it didn't really make a difference.
Siri is still
Siri's still Siri.
Yeah.
You know, you can submit it and it may say, you know, I'm looking into that, but it's just a beach ball basically. Just sitting there trying to figure stuff out. Siri is always going to be a bottleneck. The fact that it doesn't have any inputs is a bottleneck. The fact that, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things about that device that I'm just not keen on.
If it had an aux input,
it'd be killer. I mean, our friend of the show, Linus, just got an iPod Hi-Fi.
I'm really jealous.
And
of
it's,
that.
you know, it's got a dinged cone in one of the woofers or tweeters.
The woofer, it's pushed the
yeah, and they were common because
you
could pull the grill off and kids would push it or whatever. They get dinged up. I actually prefer the aesthetic of it without the grill on.
Yes,
but you know it's protected.
Dangerous. Yeah.
It's dangerous. But you know it's got an aux input in it, and it still works with his iPod and his iPhone 4. It's still a viable device. Decades later, whatever, however long later, decade plus.
Even though its primary input was the 30-pin dock connector, it's got an aux in, and you can just pop stuff in. I have my Bose little AirPlay device, and it was AirPlay 1, and the app that you use to get the speaker on to the correct Wi-Fi network to be able to AirPlay to it is no longer supported. Like Rosetta, it doesn't work. Actually, you know what? It may work in Rosetta. It didn't work in Mac OS Catalina or whatever on my Intel Mac, but maybe I could get it to work in Rosetta on my MacBook Pro, my M2 Pro. I'll have to try that again.
It'd be worth
but
it,
I haven't been able to get it connected to AirPlay, but it has an auxiliary input.
It's still useful.
So I have 4 things plugged into it.
On a splitter?
And on one of those little push button splitters, I've got my turntable. I've got my electric drum set, and
iPod, no?
And an iPod dock, which leads us to, I think, our main topic of today, vintage iPods.
Vintage iPods. The HomePod thing and Linus talking about, because Sony came out with new Walkmans.
Yes.
And they've never stopped making Walkmans.
Yeah, they've been continue to be made and very popular.
Yeah, and they make very high-end ones that are $3,500.
Yeah.
With super high-end components.
Have a very high-end DAC in them, digital audio.
They just came out with a new generation of a $900 one or $800 or whatever, and like a $300, $400 one. I had ordered the $900 one because why? No, I don't know. It had a bigger screen, whatever. But they're Android based.
Yeah.
And I was looking forward to it because one of my things is, from the trauma I talked about Apple screwing my whole music library and all that. And I've been really unhappy with music streaming services in general lately. Yeah. Spotify, I had just canceled, and they just made the most horrific change possible.
TikTokified.
It's just
their interface, yeah.
And so I'm using Apple Music as my primary now. I've tried them all at length: Tidal, Apple Music, Deezer, Amazon Music, all of them. Google Play Music before it was YouTube Music.
Your favorite, I think, was Beats Music.
Beats, I think, was my all-time favorite. Like the player sentence feature actually really worked, and human curation was actually really effective.
Yeah.
And I find that
sadly didn't carry over into Apple Music.
It didn't. And Apple Music made a lot of bad design choices early on. I think a lot of them have improved. It's still kind of messy, but it's not horrible anymore. What's horrible is it just plays sometimes random songs.
It's just that it was built off of the iTunes, the format that had originally been called iTunes Music in the original iPhone, and it just kept evolving and evolving, and they threw this.
No, it kept devolving.
More devolving.
Because, for example, you had iTunes and you had tons of ways to organize and view your music and create playlists and stuff like that. They took a lot of that out when they stripped it away and turned it into Apple Music. So your ability to control and manage your library, your personal library, was severely harmed. And also ability to import things, they took away a lot of features for that. Exporting things took away a lot of features for that. And library management and the ability to kind of keep Apple Music and syncing out of that and manage it independently. You can uncheck the view of the iTunes Store and Apple Music in settings, but it's still there and it's still looking at your library. It's still factoring into your plays. You can uncheck sync library, but then you lose a lot of actually benefits to having a synced library
across your devices.
Yeah. So what I did was I removed my personal library from it, blitzed it, and then, made it into just an Apple Music library. And that made it a lot more tolerable. But I canceled the Walkman order because I felt like I didn't want to use an Android device. I didn't want to have a secondary device, and I wanted something that felt,
Yeah, the only thing that kind of intrigues me about the fact that it runs Android is like, ooh, it could be rooted and then made to do other cool things.
But turns out so can other stuff.
So can other stuff. Like the only advantage is at that point you've got a really high quality headphone amplifier and DAC.
Yeah, and also I have a FiO dedicated headphone amp and DAC that would pair well with it. It's even got a little tiny short cable.
Would you go out of like the USB-C port rather than the headphone port?
No, I would use the balance port, and it would be fantastic. You can go to USB to USB-C. In fact, that's how it comes with a cable that goes USB-C to Lightning, so you can get a better DAC out of and listen to true lossless, because these don't support lossless out of the box, even with the headphone adapter, because there's a little DAC in those things too, and they don't support that high of a capacity. Although it does sound very good, I will say that.
Apple's little DACs, the USB-C one and the Lightning one, they're solid.
They're not powerful in terms of amplification and the quality of amplification, but the DAC part, the actual
digital to analog conversion,
is really solid. Yeah. But yeah, I would have had lots of options. I could have listened to my planar magnetics on it. I could have listened, there's a lot of benefits to that. But then it wouldn't feel like an everyday thing. And I wanted something that was everyday, that was just fixed in time.
Yeah.
That had, my library is still destroyed, but the vestiges of it. So
as rebuilt as you could get it.
Yeah. So I decided, here, open that up. Yeah. I decided to build and modify an iPod.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It's purple, but it's still got the black front.
Yeah.
It has the black switch, but the face of it is purple.
And this was previously a thick one. I made it into a thin one.
So you bought a new back to it. Oh, right. It even says He had
it's a 1 terabyte. So
etched.
I had that
designed
etched
in California, assembled in China. I joked in a text to you. I was like, oh, you should have re-etched it to say assembled in Kingsburg.
Yeah, I mean, so I also wanted aluminum front. So this is the 7th generation iPod. Was
that the last generation of the iPod Classic?
Yeah, the iPod Classic, the 6th, 7th generation are kind of just different year revisions. They did change some stuff in it, and you actually lose the fancy Wolfson DAC that was in the 5th generation. So it was actually a better DAC. But I didn't care. I wanted faster performance, and I also wanted the higher song limits and better RAM, which I did get. And so what I did was I swapped out the battery.
Yeah. Because at this point it's 11, 12 years old. From last iPod Classic.
Yeah, and it's also really small.
Capacity
wise. So I put a much, much larger capacity. It's actually hard to say, but I think it's around 2,000 milliamp hours. Because what it says on the battery, what it says on the battery and what it actually is two very different things. But now I'm getting literally a week of music.
Oh, that's amazing.
Literally a week. Right now the battery is at 66, I think. It's 66%. Yeah, it's bonkers.
And you haven't charged it since you...
No.
Oh my gosh.
It's incredible. So if that extrapolates out, it's a week. It's got a terabyte of storage, and the way I did that is
there used to be a hard drive in there.
Yeah, a little Toshiba 1.8-inch spinning hard drive.
Yeah.
A literal platter hard drive, which is amazing. A little shock mount on it. And what I did was, in part because of what you had done to your Mini.
Yeah, I'll talk about my Mini in just a minute.
I took it out and I put an iFlash quad in it. And to that, I added 4 256 gigabyte micro SD cards.
Wow.
And
also price efficient.
Super price efficient, super cheap. I have about 400 and change into this. Amazing. All said and done.
Music and audiobooks?
Yeah. So I had a whole huge saga. If you watch previous episodes of Editor, a huge saga with Amazon breaking my account or locking my account. Long story.
And now, all your Audible books got locked down.
Yeah. So I found a way to get those back, some of them back, and through Audible, and I took the DRM off. And so I have about 400 books on here.
Amazing.
So 400 books, about 12,000 songs right now. And the way my songs are just the last library I had. I haven't actually gone through and done my fancy library. And then talking about modding stuff, I could also mod this and put a software called Rockbox on here. And Rockbox is an entirely different firmware. I can dual boot, so there's a way to like boot with the hold switch. I can dual boot back into the iPod OS, but Rockbox gives you the ability to play like true lossless FLAC files.
Nice.
You can organize music differently. You can organize and play back audiobooks differently. You have more speed control. You have like all kinds of customization of the UI. People make themes for it. So it's really, really, really cool stuff. And
Wild.
it looks great on this kind of iPod. And then once I did this, I was like, I want a good set of wired headphones. You can do a Bluetooth mod. There's a couple ways to do it. You can do it without creating without removing the shield. There's a metal shield in addition to the metal back. There's a metal shield behind the displays. Most of the displays, you can remove that, which gives you some Bluetooth pass-through, but the range is real limited. The real way to do it.
Because then it's really only the 2-inch screen that is allowing the radio waves
and
to
even
get in
that's
and
got
out.
enough
Because everything else
blockage.
is metal.
Yeah. You can do a cutout on here and do a plastic pass-through like the iPod Touches. Remember they had that like lozenge
little
cutout?
window, yeah.
And then do the Bluetooth mod, which is very complicated. Not recommended if you're not fancy with that kind of stuff.
Would people sell just a back already?
Yep.
Okay.
People do sell
You
a
could just buy
back that's modded with the Bluetooth mod installed already. It's just a plug and play type thing. Those run about $250. But I didn't care. I actually wanted some old headphones.
Especially if you are going to put FLAC files on there with that other OS.
Yeah, then Bluetooth. Well,
the
Bluetooth mods actually do support lossless.
Oh, that's cool.
unlike iPhones. So
iPhone,
aptX
yeah.
and Bluetooth 5.3, I think.
So your Sony headphones would support lossless. Okay.
So then I remembered back in the day going into the Apple Store, and Bowers and Wilkins was a really popular brand in the Apple Store and B&O.
Yep. The headphones, but also weren't those? No, those were Harman Kardon.
Harman Kardon, yeah.
Those tower speakers. They weren't Bowers and Wilkins.
They did have them though. They had the Zeppelin in the Apple stores.
Oh, the Zeppelin. That was their speaker.
So these are the Bowers and Wilkins P5 non-wireless version.
The original.
The original one.
There was also a P7 that were a bit bigger and quite a bit more.
P6s and P7s, and then they went to the PA. They have a P8, a PX8. They have all fancy ones. I actually bought the fancy ones recently to see how nice they were. Crap.
The amount of money is it just like the amount of money wasn't worth it, or they actually were not?
They were $800, and I still think my Sony whatever numbers 5th generation XM Sirius XM
W
whatever they were just as good. Yeah. Sound wise, and they cost less than half the price.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, but with these were about $350, $300 in the day.
Yeah,
they were not cheap,
which was expensive. I have a set
ridiculously expensive.
I got a set of them 10 years ago.
Right.
There was some I think they were discontinuing them, and there was like a fire sale of them. And I got.
Do you remember how much you paid? It was still 3 digits.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
But it was between 150 and 200. So I got over $100 off. I
went on eBay and got a like new set. These are actually not as like new as they described. I actually ended up buying 2 sets. And I took the lesser of the 2 because, long story short, my wife wanted a set.
Hey,
But P5s.
Yes.
In excellent condition, I would say, with the original wired microphone cable.
Yeah.
Which
great.
Turns out when you plug it into an iPod, a voice memo feature comes up. I had no idea that they did that.
I've never plugged, those. Well, I could have. I must have plugged my P5s into my last iPod Classic.
You must have, and you just maybe didn't notice. But new menu item comes up, and you could do full voice memos on an iPod. I had no idea.
I might have had a Gen 6.
Right.
It might not have been on my Gen 6.
Maybe not. I don't know, but it definitely does do it
Gen
on this
7.
one.
Yeah.
They sound phenomenal. They're super light and super small. They actually have magnetic ear cups, just like AirPod Maxes.
Yeah, just like that.
And it's super easy to replace the cable.
Yes.
I've
actually had to replace the cable on mine, and I went ahead and bought when I broke mine, I actually broke the buttons, the up and down, like the back part of it fell off, and the cable actually completely stopped working, and I lost the cable that didn't have the buttons. Yeah. So I found some on eBay, and I went ahead and ordered 2. So I have the ones that I replaced and are on there, and then I have another one somewhere.
Nice.
Ready to go just in case. Because it isn't. It's 3.5 millimeters to plug into what your iPhone, iPod, whatever you're plugging into.
2.5 on the other
it's
side.
2.5 on the other side,
which is actually common for audiophile crap. And then exactly not common. There's actually bigger ones. There's not that are not 1/4 inch. There's unbalanced, balanced. There's all kinds of stupid crap.
Yeah.
And the Sony thing supported a lot of that stuff, which would have been really nice to plug some of my fancier headphones in. But here's the thing: like I brought out 50 different little wireless headphones in, and I was,
none of them will work with. You could plug the AirPods Max into this. You could plug a cable into that. You could plug a cable into your over-the-ear Sony's.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have to be stuck carrying something large all the time, stick it on an airplane or anything like that. They came with this really nice, sorry about the mic, quilted case.
Yeah.
And it's got this little pouch in the back that perfectly fits the iPod.
I always thought it was just to hold the other cable, and
it just happens to perfectly fit it.
adapter.
I don't know what the original conceit was, but nevertheless, it fits perfectly.
I'll have to dig mine up.
It's really nice. So
I started putting like lens cleaner things inside of it.
It's a really nice
lens
case.
pen.
It's
and
handsome.
Yeah.
My wife ended up really liking the iPod experience. She's literally,
And
I left it,
P5s.
and the P5 so much that she's like, please get me another set. I got her a set immediately. I paid less, $10 less for them, and they look better. They're actually much newer looking than these quote like new ones, which are still in very, very nice shape.
Yeah.
Hers didn't come with the case though. Did come with both wires and the adapter. But do you know how much I paid for these?
$100, $80?
$60 shipped.
Oh my gosh.
Hers were $50 shipped.
That's amazing.
It's like one of the best values in all of headphonedom. They sound fantastic for what they are. I do agree with one of the reviews that they actually are a little bit treble heavy.
And they're very comfortable. This is like sheep leather.
Yeah, I mean, if you're all vegan about it, it's an issue, but they are extremely comfortable.
Yes.
They're on-ear headphones, which I don't typically like, but they're extremely well done.
Yeah, they seal really well.
Yes, they actually feel like noise-canceling headphones without the pressure. I actually need to take them off to hear people.
Yes.
To remove them. They can create an amazingly good seal. And Elise has that same issue. They cancel noise better than AirPods, than AirPods Pros, the original ones.
Yeah. Yeah. They block out noise. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not canceling noise. They're actually just a barrier, right? But I've been extremely happy with this because I have a dedicated device. I don't have to go fishing through multiple different kinds of headphones all throughout the day because of battery life and because they feel disposable. And because it is absurd to have that many different headphones, right? I mean, those
and
like
then
half
you've got to
the joke.
swap them because the battery dies.
And I listen to them all the time. I don't have to burn battery on my device. I don't have to monopolize Bluetooth on my device, which I always constantly have issues with. And it's just a really, really nice experience to have something when you push play, it plays. It's shocking.
Can you use this in your car? Does your car have an aux port in?
No, I don't. If it does, I don't know where it is, but I have a thumb drive in my car in the glove box, which has the same library on it.
Loaded with
so I can just
or MP3s.
Yeah, it's all there anyway.
Yeah.
So or most of the same library.
Nice.
So it's all there if I don't have connection or don't want to pay for the premium streaming cellular thing on the Tesla stuff. But like, it's in which I'm considering not doing because that experience is perfectly fine.
How much of the app experience? I know it's a whole nother conversation.
It's fine. No, it's fine. The UI is fine. That's why I don't really care so much about not having CarPlay.
Yeah.
The only thing I like about having CarPlay is it's consistent across the board.
No. Like in terms of like accessing your car from the app, remote climate control, remote lock, remote. Because Lauren's Nissan Leaf, like the biggest thing is like we only got a year or 6 months of.
No, all the app stuff is still there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't need the premium connection for the app. You need the premium connection for like games and you get a cellular
Netflix
connection. So it includes a cellular and it's $10 a month. So it's like fine, it's doable.
Yeah.
But you can stream Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and YouTube, fucking TikTok.
It's just another $10 on top of all the
other stuff, and that shit adds up. So I've been actually dialing that back. I had a yearly theme this year, and that I talk about in the Marchive, but I've never actually explained what I meant by it, which was the year of parity. And what I wanted to do was get to a point where I am like fixed in time as far as like what I like to listen to. And switching over to physical media, but also having like corresponding digital versions So parity between my content and also having the content be as timeless and long lasting as possible. A physical book is subject to damage, but I can have it forever. When I traveled last year a lot, I would take physical books with me, and they're heavy and cumbersome. But so I did kind of allow myself to get back into more ebooks, but I also have a pretty substantial record collection, like physical vinyl records.
Same.
I've toyed with the idea. Yeah. I've toyed with the idea of going back to CDs to some extent, not to listen to as primary, but more as archival.
Yeah. Just the other day, Lauren was like, can we put all your CDs in like CD books? And I'm like,
So, okay, here's the thing. I did put all my I still have all my CDs, and I had a massive book. It's about this thick and that big, and it ruined all my CDs.
I know.
So they're really hard on the books. So I regret doing that because I did get rid of all my jewel cases. Yeah, I really do regret doing that.
But all my CDs are currently just in like bankers boxes, moving boxes, and it's taking up space. And I'm like,
no, I understand.
I put it in the book, and I never move the book.
Yeah,
it won't get scratched up, but
yeah, they get really jacked. And I have I have some import stuff that was super hard to find even back, especially back in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
That I still have, but it's completely destroyed. And some of that stuff is actually quite valuable these days, but it doesn't. Not like I'm going to sell it. But
it's gone now. Yeah.
So,
Disc Doctor.
Yeah,
buff them out.
Yeah,
Let's buff them
create
out.
those little swirl all the way across.
Yeah. My parents had one.
That it helps. It helps if you're ripping stuff, especially. But I've been wanting to dial that stuff back as much as possible. I'm not comfortable with streaming services in general. For content, I like to watch content that's finished most of the time.
Okay, yes. I will. On the music side of things, though, I will say I will buy an album, especially if I really like it. I'll buy it on vinyl record. Mm-hmm. If I like it.
I use the streaming as reference to make that decision personally.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Which is great.
That. And then if I don't like it enough to buy that and have it take up space, and especially if the artist is on Bandcamp, I'll try to buy the music on Bandcamp Fridays, where most of the money goes to the artist.
Yeah, that's hard for me.
But then I will still listen to it on Apple Music so that they get the quarter of a penny for the listen. I'm trying to put as much money into the artist's pocket.
I'm okay with that. I mean, for that,
that's my current music
then
listening
leave
strategy.
Apple Music on a loop on some device that's sitting at your house.
So actually,
just have it playing in a playlist.
I kind of have been doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
to keep my computer awake to do some backup. So I have also
he and I have YouTube videos for this and
but my new thing is let Apple Music play.
So Apple Music isn't causing it to shut down the screen and stuff, and
the screen will turn off, but
the hard drive stays on,
and the computer will still be working on my backup and working. So I save the screen. My favorite artists get money. And it's my computer is processing the thing that I want it to do.
Perfectly okay with that, and I'm actually okay with it. I mean, I yuck on people's yum all the time, especially with HomePods and stuff because I'm just an asshole about it. But I dislike Apple Music for a lot of reasons that go way back. But fundamentally, in terms of the service, it's revolutionary, right? It's a huge deal.
For folks.
And Mark loves it. And I love that he loves it and gets so much out of it, and that it really helps him experience his joy of music and performances and stuff. I have the same relationship with music services in general, but also I really like the tea ceremony of it. And I like slowing that stuff down, and I'm not a huge fan of infinite choice and stuff like that.
Yeah. That is the flip side too. My big thing, the reason why I never paid for Apple Music or Spotify on its own before Apple, I got it in the bundle with Apple One, was just why am I going to pay for a service where I'm going to listen to the same albums?
Which is not to say I don't listen to new stuff.
Because I have them on the iPod. But the majority of what I listen to is the comfort thing.
Turns out that statistically, there's been studies that have been published about this, but the majority of what everyone listens to in the aggregate, at least in the United States and Europe, is old stuff.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think last year, old stuff listening time overtook new stuff listening time.
Wild.
Which is sad, actually, because it means that
there's a bunch of new stuff that's good coming out.
But it also means that record companies are just, repackaging old stuff and pushing that instead of, really bringing new artists up. And it's a factory system now, basically.
Yeah.
Just like watching stuff that's been made in the volume.
Well,
that's a whole different topic. We'll get into that.
Maybe next episode.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been loving it. Elise loved it. I did one for her, and I also redid my 4th gen iPod video.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful.
My iPod experience, I think I had a 6th gen iPod Classic that I loved. My car got broken into, and
Is it Berkeley or?
No, this was even before that. This was back when I drove the Honda Civic. There's actually a rehearsal space in Tower District of Fresno, and its parking lot was always a hot spot to get broken into. And I put it in the glove box, but I didn't have a locking glove box at the time in that car. And it got stolen. Shout out to Studio 9. They finally put a gate on their parking lot, and hopefully people don't get the car broken into. Kind of like getting your window smashed at Studio 9 was like a rite of passage for a lot of musicians. That's just what it was. But my iPod Classic got stolen. I think it was a 160 gigabyte. So I was already like riding up close to filling it up with my iTunes library. I don't have a lot of audiobooks. It was just music. And I didn't sync videos to it. Mm-hmm. And when that got stolen, I was devastated, and I was like, that was my main car playback thing. I didn't have streaming services at the time. I was out of college, but maybe not by too many years. And maybe I just started working at CMAC. So like my first like salary job, my second salary job, because I did do that one in San Francisco. Ironically, yeah, in the Bay Area, no one stole my iPod.
Right. Well, until they broke into your car. There wasn't an iPod, but yeah.
Yeah. Then and that was also like mostly 2014. So things weren't as rough. I suspect. I don't know, but I didn't want to just get another Classic because I knew I was getting full. I wanted to go the modded route. And again, yeah, this must have been like 2015 or 2016. Mm. And I did some research, and at the time, the one that seemed easiest to me was the iPod Mini. Mm-hmm. So I picked up I picked up 2 iPod Minis just to have different parts to swap around. And yeah, I eventually replaced its spinning disk hard drive that I think was 4 gigabytes originally, and replaced it with a full-size SD card, 256 gigabytes, and it's inside of it looks like a compact flash card
but it's
adapter.
Not compact flash.
It's not exactly compact flash. It's a little bit fatter, and it's got like one extra like notch. I remember trying to put it in my 5D Mark III. I'm like, I want to put an SD card in here and put it in my 5D Mark III. It didn't mount. It didn't fit right. But I compared it with compact flash cards, and it was very, very similar.
The ones that are available today are compact flash, SD, and micro SD. Those are all the 3 ones that are available for classics, videos, minis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really wanted, of the classics, the 3rd generation iPod with the glowing red buttons. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite design of all of the iPods. And essentially there were no actual clicky buttons. It was all capacitive touch. Even the center button, I really liked that. But that was a FireWire based. It had a 30-pin connection, but it needed to be FireWire.
I had one that wasn't FireWire.
Really?
Yeah, there was one. That was my...
And it worked with USB on the end?
3rd iPod back that I've owned before this one that I made.
Well, then heck, maybe I got to do a 3rd generation iPod mod.
Yeah.
But I truly thought I had to get always connect it via FireWire, and it would be 30 pin on one end, FireWire 6 pin on the other end, and then there's FireWire 8 pin to Thunderbolt 2. So I'd have a Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2 to FireWire 8 pin to FireWire 6 pin to 30 pin dock connector to the iPod.
You have a Thunderbolt 2 to USB-C adapter though.
Thunderbolt 3.
Thunderbolt 3 adapter is what it would be.
I do. And I do have
you have one for the audio interface.
I also have a Thunderbolt 2 to the 8-pin FireWire.
800 was it?
Yeah, because I added the earlier PreSonus Fire Studio.
Right.
So I also had that. I have all the parts to make that happen. It's just ridiculous anytime I'd
I use it with USB-A. I'm 95% positive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I would have used it on a PC as well at the time. Like I had a PC at the time that I
That
used
was
it on.
that was right at the time when iPods opened up to
Yeah.
PC. Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, man, maybe I got to go back and do a 3rd gen iPod mod. But my iPod Mini mod is great. The only thing I really again, this was 2015, 2016. I had a really hard time finding a replacement battery that the cables fit. The battery would fit, but the cables were too thick. They were higher gauge than the original battery, and you had to get the battery in there, and you had to wrap the cable around and get it plugged in the logic board, and then slide it all back in because it was that the Mini has a circular, like the chassis,
The top, and it's all slides out. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I couldn't slide it back in with the replacement battery I got, and I could probably try again, but this iPod Mini basically just lives on the dock, plugged into my Bose, bookshelf.
Which
speaker.
ended up harming the battery in hindsight because now you have 12 minutes.
The battery was already
crap.
the battery was already shot.
Okay.
But yeah, I meant to bring the iPod today. We were going to record 2 days ago, and I remembered to bring the iPod then.
Yeah, I couldn't make it.
But I was like, let's just see how long the battery lasts on it, and it lasted 4 songs, 12 minutes, and then it died. Yeah.
Oh, I did forget to bring something that I was going to show you today.
That's okay.
But it's okay.
We're talking about iPods.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I should try getting 2 things. I should try getting another battery for the iPod Mini so I can actually take it around with me and to pick up a 3rd gen iPod.
I might have one that works for you, the battery. So I might have one that works.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I love it. I love the little solitaire game on those old black and white iPods.
It's on here too.
It's on here.
iQuiz is on here too.
It plays a clip of the song, and you've got to guess what
It
the
does
song
do
is,
that,
or the artist.
but also it has straight up trivia like A, B, C, D. Multiple choice question and answer trivia as well.
But it mostly pulls it from the data of the song. Like what year was this song made? And it's pulling it from the metadata of the song.
This one seemed more fixed in time. The version I played,
all right.
is
like I said, I think I had the generation but this also it's so much lighter that it doesn't have the hard drive in it.
It's actually disconcerting because I have the 4th gen, the video, and I had the thick back on it, it was like a chunk.
Oh, for the chunky hard
drive. It was
drive.
a substantial thing.
So that you could have 8 gigabytes instead of.
No, I had 60 gigs on that video.
60?
Yeah, I had a 60 gig video.
Okay, that was the video. That's true.
And then it was so big, but then I put the original back on. And, without going to a thinner back, with like a mod back, and it just feels so hollow and crappy.
Oh, weird.
That I almost want to add some weight to it to make it feel substantial again.
You put a really big battery in it. Oh, did you hid the games?
Yeah.
I have to go to your settings and add it back to the home screen.
Yeah, you have to add stuff to the menu.
Oh, that's too much work. Okay.
Didn't I add just straight up games? Because you can do that.
Yeah.
But here, actually, while we're here, I'll show you when you're on the main.
Oh, the voice memos.
Yeah,
so you plug in your headphones.
You actually watch it appear.
Oh, yeah, voice memos.
It just appears. It's bizarre. And it works. It works actually really well.
Start recording.
Yeah, let's just put the whole show out on this.
Yeah, we should do a whole podcast on the inline mic on the Bowers and Wilkins P5s. Hi, Gilbert. This is your voice memo on your iPod.
Now I have to jump through 85 hoops to get it off. Not if I had Rockbox, though. Rockbox makes it a lot easier.
Well, you'd plug it in and then you'd see it. You now see iPods and iPhones in the Finder rather than just Apple Music.
You do see them in Apple Music. It shows what you have in there, but you can't really manage them from there. You manage them from Finder, which took away that
stop and
component.
save.
Along those lines, I actually decided to try to change my phone as well.
Yeah, you had been living with an iPhone 14 Pro Max.
And prior to that, a 13 Pro Max, and prior to that, a 12 Pro Max, prior to that, 11 Pro Max.
Yeah, I did. I went Max with the 12. I had 11 Pro, but I'd never done the big phone before.
My last small phone was the iPhone 10.
Yeah.
Which,
and even then, that was
size.
the middle size.
Yeah, they didn't have a bigger, and I hated it. I hated that size. I don't like middle-sized phones.
It was fine.
Prior to that, what did I have? I had an iPhone 7 Plus, which is a fantastic phone. And I think Mark still has one. And then I also had, well, he did have it anyway. I think he's got an 11 or something now. And then prior to that, instead of getting the 6 Plus, I got the 6.
Also the same size as the 10.
Probably my least favorite Apple device I've ever owned is the iPhone 6. Just hated the shape of it. I hated
The
feel
five,
of it.
the 5 and the 4 shape was just so
good,
nice. And
turns out, I agree
you
because
picked up what?
I got an iPhone 13 mini.
And it's just a little bit bigger than the 5, the SE.
Yeah,
size.
and you can compare it to the.
There's an iPhone SE first gen. Oh, it's just a tiny bit wider than this iPod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got an SE downstairs, first gen SE that says the size of a 5.
And I really love it. It's a little bit bigger than smaller than those, but it feels very similar. And it's been really nice. I don't know if I'm going to switch to it, but
Full time.
It's full time. But I did find that switching the eSIM over. The reason why I didn't do this originally when the iPhone 14 came out, the eSIM was a real pain in the ass to switch. I was worried about not being able to just use a SIM card. But actually, it's been really easy.
Figured it out.
Yeah, it's been great.
AT&T has.
Wait a minute. Where's the SIM slot on this? Oh, it's right here. I was covering it with my hand. I was gonna say
you're holding the
for
phone
sure. They
wrong.
had it. Yeah, I'm holding it wrong.
I really like. I've never seen a mini with the wallet on it.
It fits like it's exact.
It's hitting all of my perfect. What are those satisfying videos? The perfect satisfying
ASMR type stuff.
But the visual version of that, yeah.
Hold it like a Game Boy.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Feel curvy like a Game Boy?
Oh, yeah, the back
really,
side of it.
It makes it feel like a little miniature Game Boy,
or an original Game Boy.
I like it. But one thing that I've noticed, I still have my 14 with me because it's my car key right now because I haven't switched my car over.
The camera's fine.
The camera is wicked fast compared to the 14.
The 13 to the 14, yeah.
Yeah, and I still have an iPhone 13 Pro Max that I might actually go back to and give my wife the 14 Pro Max. She's on a 13 Pro Max.
I'm setting your default exposure compensation for video to a negative stop so that skin tones aren't blown out. I've got this video planned out and I'm like way behind on other videos. I want to make a video that is responding to Tyler Stallman's, he made this video shoot the best videos on your phone. And he recommends turning off HDR and doing all these other things. And I'm going to be like,
I do turn off HDR.
In defense of iPhone Dolby Vision, HDR, and then also but also turn down your exposure compensation. That's partially.
Yeah. And also I'll usually do it manually when I take video of a concert. Most people overexpose those.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But yeah, just quickly, basically you're in video, you swipe up, you hit the exposure button and you swipe it down to -1.
Yep.
And that's actually a really good start for most video, especially out in daylight and stuff.
But even non-HDR, you should have that on.
Final Cut was updated to handle HDR a little bit better. So was actually Premiere.
Yes.
So I turned it on more now. So
yeah.
Not a big deal.
And that's the thing. He's like, I turned it off because when I imported it into Final Cut,
it's such a pain in the ass.
It looks weird. No, it takes 2 seconds.
So annoying. I disagree. I agree with Tyler Stallman on that.
I'm going to convince you, and I'm going to convince Tyler Stallman
all right. And I'm willing to be convinced
because there are so many benefits.
Agree. There are benefits
to leaving it on. Than turning.
Well, it's on now on my 14 Pro Max, which I still have with me.
It's off.
It's on.
It's on.
It's on. So I'm trying. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm trying that kind of stuff. I've also been doing some more camera rejiggering. We'll get into it more in the next episode, but just as a preview, there's a Canon lens on my Sony Alpha. What the hell is this thing?
You got a tilty shifty.
Yeah.
Is it locked?
It's locked on both axes.
Look at this. This is just disconcerting.
You gotta do the switch as well.
Yeah, there's a switch. Whoa, your lens is broken, bro.
Yeah, look at it going all wacky.
Yeah.
So it's shifting and it's tilting. And what I forgot to bring was related to this, but I also forgot the TT Artisans one.
Oh yeah, it's just shift.
It's just tilt.
Yeah,
just tilt.
This is the shifty.
Yeah, and then there's a Rokinon one that is just shift. But I want to tilt and shift, and we'll get into it in a different video. This one's been long enough, but maybe we'll go on a walk right now and do some some tilty shifty photos and see what the hell the point is.
Yeah, thank God, daylight saving time is back. It's not.
I wish it would just stay
dark. Yeah. So what I understand is in California we voted, we passed
every
a bill.
Fucking year.
Well,
we vote. for.
No, we voted and it passed. It didn't pass, and then we finally passed it. But we passed for the ability for state legislator to finalize it, and they still haven't finalized
look into
it.
that, because this happens. It's like water on Mars. It's been discovered every year. Oh my God, there's water on Mars.
We're gonna stick
again.
with daylight saving time.
Yeah, or Puerto Rico becoming a state. Like it happens all the time. You know, I'm half Puerto Rican though. So
Let's get that. I
have a lot of Portuguese blood.
I'm ing because I want it to happen.
Yeah, same. I see.
Guam,
I want a lot of things to happen.
The islands.
Guam, Arizona, Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we'll put some links into some articles that you read, and then maybe if I can find some.
Yeah, and how to fake the moon. We'll teach you how to do that.
Fake the moon with your Samsung S23 Ultra.
Yeah, I don't really have one of those, by the way.
No.
This was taken with a A7R4, which your brother has now.
Yeah.
Not the same one.
We'll have to bring him back on the show.
Yeah, I want to talk to him more about that, because that's an incredible camera with a Sony 200-600G with a 2x extender.
Amazing.
This was shot at 1200 millimeters.
Amazing.
Probably f14, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess the exposure was somewhere around 1/30th, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is actually, the moon moves way faster than you think at 1200 mil.
Moving but then also the heat.
You get the heat, you get the waves from the heat, the diffraction from the atmosphere. You get the moon is way more complicated than it seems to.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, AI should solve that for us. It should make it a lot easier.
They did. Samsung's AI did. They did.
Yeah. But this is an incredible picture. I mean, this you can print and blow up to the size of a building.
To the size of the moon.
Yeah, it's to the size of the moon. And replace the moon with AI.
Replace the moon with AI. This has been Editor. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Gilbert.
Thanks to CMAC for making this video possible. And we'll see you the next time we're able to make a video.
CMAC.tv. Peace.